Okay. Hi, Gabriella. Thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm so happy to be here.
Good. We're here at the Woodstock Fruit Festival, and Gabriella and I were just chatting about how she was raised as a raw vegan, both her and her brother. And I thought this would be a wonderful opportunity to share this experience with you all, to kind of show you this is the aftermath of, you know, someone who was raised as a raw vegan.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe you could tell me a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, so I was raised vegan. My mom is Karen Ramsey, author of 2 raw food books, Creating Healthy Children and super fun recipes for families. I actually don't even know her second title, but I should get on that. So yeah, she's the Osha. Osha! This is my dog, Osha. Hi, puppy. Raw dog.
Okay.
And so my mom got into veganism, and so she was into that even before I was born. And so I was raised vegan until I was 5, and then when around 5 years old, my mom got into raw foods. And so she just transitioned us, and it was really part of her own personal health journey, and she transitioned our whole family to be raw. So my brother and her and I all went raw, and so from about 5 until about age 12, I was pretty much 100% raw. And it was just such a great time of my life. You know, I didn't really question anything. I just ate whatever my mom gave me and enjoyed it. And then when I became 12 and 13, I started to become really interested in what other people were eating. I, you know, was definitely like succumbed to peer pressure and wanted to fit in with my friends. And so I started to kind of explore a little bit more. And we were raised homeschooled, so I wasn't really exposed to the mainstream from an early age and what the mainstream was eating. Most of our friends were health conscious and kind of respected that we ate raw fruits and vegetables and supported that.
Yeah.
So it was really easy, like up until that point. But then when I started to go out in the world more by myself and just started to get exposed to like all these different colors and flavors and textures and like what everyone else is eating, I really wanted to try it all. And I just, you know, I could see the looks on my mom's face, you know, as I would be like, well, what's that? I want some. And her being like, well, you know, I don't know if I should say no, or like, okay,
because you're at a certain age,
or just this once, or you know, and so it's kind of this experimental time, and I had to see my mom kind of just take a step back a little bit and allow me begrudgingly to explore and experiment and just see for myself how those foods made my body feel.
Yeah, when he gets older and he, you know, starts to make his own like conscious choices, and if he wants to explore, we shouldn't create this, like, at least this is from my perspective, it would be much more healthy to just, like a healthy perspective, to just allow him to explore on his own so that he could come back to it on his own and not feel like it's forced. You know, especially at that age. Because if your mom didn't allow you to explore, it would really feel really forced, and I feel like you might even have rebelled really far and maybe never came back. You know?
Definitely, you know, you can say no up to a certain point, but you know, your child is their own individual person, and I really had to see for myself and come to my own conclusions about how my body felt eating those foods. And so, you know, as I got older, I started to drive, and I really just rejected like everything my mom said. I was in that like teenage rebellion. You know, whether your kids eat raw food or not, like a lot of teenagers are kind of like at a certain point they're like, Mom,
let me do my own thing.
Embarrassing me or something. And so I definitely went through that. I wanted to fit in with my friends. I started eating like pizza and ice cream. I started eating a lot of dairy. One thing, though, that I do have to say about my mom that I didn't always appreciate at all, but now I do looking back, is that she maintained our house a vegan house. So, you know, she couldn't really control what I ate when I went out. But in our house, she was like, our house is a vegan household. And so even though during that time I was eating other things outside, whenever I was home, she could still kind of get me to, you know, eat salads and fruit and all these sorts of things. And it really wasn't until I went to college that I was really on my own. Like, okay, I'm not at my mom's house anymore. I'm totally on my own, and I'm with all these other kids who were also on their own for the first time. And, you know, what are all the food choices that we're making? And so I went along with a lot of my friends, and I drank alcohol, you know, smoked, and, you know, ordered greasy Chinese food at 3 o'clock in the morning like everybody else. And that is when I really noticed my health declining for the first time ever. I think before, when I was 12 and 13, I didn't really feel it as much. Like if I ate pizza or something the next day, I wouldn't really feel it. My body was young enough, I think. And then when I got to college, it was like those unhealthy lifestyle, like day after day after
Yeah, because you weren't going home to mom's eating like healthy
exactly,
food.
Right?
It was like always,
like, I didn't wake up and my mom like making me a green smoothie anymore.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't always want it.
Yeah.
And so that's when I really, for my own self, I made the connection that you really are what you eat. And you're going to feel as good as the food you're putting into your body. And in those moments, I felt really grateful that I had the foundation that I did and that I knew what I could do to help myself.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, do you, like, if you're happy that your mom, like, if you're happy now that your mom raised you as a raw vegan, like, you might have gone through phases where you're like, oh, Mom. Yeah. But now, how do you feel about it?
I'm so grateful now. Because I know how I felt eating that way. And that's a gift in and of itself, to know what eating clean feels like from a young age. And not everybody has that. Kids who've been raised on a standard American diet and then come to raw foods, that may be the first time in their lives that they felt that way before. Yeah. But I knew from before how I could feel.
Yeah.
And so I knew I wanted to go back to that. And I also had the tools to go back to that and knew exactly what to do.
Yeah.
And so that's when I became vegan again.
You were also talking about how you don't have the emotional ties to unhealthy foods that most of us do because of the way we were raised.
Totally. Yeah, that's another thing that I'm super grateful for is, like, I don't have that, like, oh, I'm sad and depressed, like, I just need my bowl of macaroni and cheese or something.
Yeah.
I don't really have that. Whenever I'm, like, down in the dumps, I'm like, man, I need to go eat some more fruit,
Yeah, seriously.
Because I know, like, that's what's going to make me feel better.
Yeah. And that's so amazing. I bet your mom is so happy that, like, both you and your brother came out. So your brother eats your brother is now following the 80-10-10 diet again, and you maintain like a vegan lifestyle, including a lot of fruit. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm mostly 80-10-10, and then sometimes, like, in the winter time and, like, with my friends, I'll have, like, a cooked vegetable soup or steamed vegetables or something like that.
So a low-fat vegan diet, mainly raw, low-fat raw vegan diet for your brother, and that's so awesome.
Yeah.
It's really great for me to experience talking with someone who was raised on a raw vegan diet, so that I could kind of know, like, not necessarily what to expect, but get ideas and insight as to what to do when he does get older. And I feel like naturally it'll kind of come naturally once I realize that he gets to a certain age and certain consciousness, that if he's asking for a certain food, it might be better just to let him experience it.
Definitely. Definitely.
And then just so that way he can eat raw food on his own choice. He can come back to it like you do now. Come back and do it.
Exactly.
It's your own choice. It's not forced.
It's not just like because my mom said so, I eat raw food, but it's really that I believe in it and that I own that choice for myself.
Yeah.
And I think that kids kind of have to go through their, who am I? What do I eat? What makes me feel good? That they kind of have to go through that process of learning for themselves.
Right.
Kind of without mom in the picture a little bit, just, and people have it in all different ways. Some people, they don't ever go off.
Yeah.
And they just know. They're like, this is what I want, and this is how.
Like Cappy so far.
Yeah, totally. And
he's so awesome.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I know that this is right, and he's just so steadfast. And then there's other kids who it's really beneficial for them to go off and kind of experiment for their own. And I know I can see, and I'm sure I'll experience it as well as a parent, that's like really hard to let go and to see that. But we have to trust that we've given our children the best foundation that we can.
Right, that's really all we can do. It's just we give them the best foundation as they're really little and growing up, and then we have to set them free at some point.
Yeah,
and they're their own individual.
We've given them all the information, all the knowledge, and that
and really the most
make their own decisions.
Yeah, exactly. And really the most important is like the foundation, the start that we've given them. The fact that you and Elvis were breastfed, extended breastfeeding, and the fact that you were fed such healthy food that your immune system and your insides are healthy from the very beginning. I mean, what a blessing. That is so awesome.
It has impacts on a very fundamental level. As my mom wrote in her Creating Healthy Children book, what a woman eats when she's pregnant is called imprinting. So the child gets imprinted. And if the child's eating fruits and veggies, that's what they're naturally going to crave.
Yeah.
But if mom's eating tons of, unhealthy food during pregnancy, that's what those children will crave.
Yep.
And as well, like with drugs and alcohol, we see that children have a higher propensity for being addicts if the mother was that way before in her pregnancy.
Yeah, totally.
And so it makes a huge difference. And I think that can give mothers a lot of hope too, like if their children do go off, that because that was their children's foundation, that is what they will return to. Because that's what they know.
Yeah.
That's what they were raised on, and where a lot of the beliefs and values come from.
Right.
Because this isn't just a diet,
That's what I was just going to say, yeah, it's so much more than just food.
Totally.
It's about like respecting our children as individuals and, by respecting him, I'm giving him the healthiest foods for his body. Like, that's respecting his body. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Really appreciate
it.
it.
It's been such a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, you too.
Son.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, I'll let you get going. You're going to go get a massage. The massage tent over here. Yeah. The Woodstock Fruit Festival. But here he goes. All right, thank you. And what's your dog's name?
My dog's name is Osha.
Hi, Osha.